Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to the special report, your news views program about geek gaming culture on the internet. Coming up in the show today, a bit of a downer news story as one of the most well-known streamers in recent memory, Byron Bernstein, better known as Reckful, has sadly took his own life on July the 2nd, 2020. Going to discuss this as well as some of my personal thoughts about some of the things that this whole situation has made me think and has made me reflect about on my own situation, my own health and well-being. I hope you listen to everything I have to say there. My name is City Shadow. All this and the OC remix track of the day comes your way right about now. Well, this is not a story that I feel very good in covering, although I do want to get my words in, and it's going to be kind of painful in order to do this because I'm one of those people who are also suffering from a little bit of what he had went through. Not necessarily the specifics, but unfortunately it is one of those things where we all feel as though we have a lot that goes on in our day-to-day life, especially this year when just about everything from a virus to protests to all sorts of other junk decides to be thrown our way this year. And now we have a person by the name of Byron Bernstein. He goes by the name of Reckful, or did on Twitch. He was one of the highest rated players on Warcraft, and he was developing a social media online world called Play Everland or Everland. It was Play Everland. That was the Twitter handle, and I would assume it still is or still will be. The word came from Slasher, the same person who is talking to us about the Dr. Disrespect situation, who broke the news that earlier on the day that I record this, which is June the 2nd, 2020, Byron had took his own life. He was 31 years of age when he did so, and from what we can gather, the last tweet that he made might have been something to do with it, although that's just me speculating. Although that's not just me speculating, that's a good bit of other people who are saying that it might have had something to do with it, where he posed to his girlfriend on Twitter, and that's something in which, if that's the way you want to do it, then you have every right to do so. I personally would not, because that's just my preference, but if that's your preference, so be it. And he did say, do not make her feel pressure to say, yes, I am completely insane here. I've not seen her in 6 months. That prompted someone to actually say, hey, this is not really good for you to do this on Twitter. And sadly, that's the person that's being blamed for the ultimate and that he decided to do. It is not good that he is getting harassed for it. It is not good that he is getting much through the rails from it. I'm not sure if that's the right phrasing. I'm not sure if that's a good phrase. I'm not sure if that's a phrase at all, if that even makes sense. But please, please, please don't harass anybody. That's the last thing we need to do right now, is to start harassing people saying, you're at fault now, you're at fault. No one's at fault here. Please, let's not do that. Now, admittedly, I am not familiar with this guy's content. Apparently he was a really well-known streamer, because the memorandum hashtag RIP Brian is definitely trending. Now, before I go into the reason why, let's go to what the person who had been proposed to in that particular tweet, Becca, had said, saying, quote, this won't be long, it won't be eloquent, I'm still processing. I didn't see the proposal until it was too late, but that doesn't change the fact that I wasn't able to be there for him. He was amazing. He taught me how to have fun, to experience more, and challenged me to try to be more than what I was. He was larger than life, too big for this world. He brought me to realize that I knew nothing about depression, nothing about mental health issues. I had this vague idea of what it was and embarrassingly thought that I could help with trivial BS. We loved each other, but it came with its difficulties. I was insanely insecure when it came to him. I couldn't even recognize myself. I don't feel that I was able to be the person that he needed in his life. We need better support for those with mental needs. I remember Brian telling me how traumatized he was when he had the authorities called on him for being at risk of suicide. Anyone that knew him knew how much it scared and affected him. This can't be how people feel about the places that should be keeping them safe. How the hell is that okay? Friends don't feel that it's the right move to call for help when they know that the mental institutions they get sent to treat them like animals incapable of understanding. F that stupid ass Logic song about the hotlines. My heart hurts. I'm sure many of yours do as well. Brian just wanted everyone to be friends, so let's be that for each other during these difficult times. And she closes it by saying, I will do my best to live as the best human I can be, Brian. I promise, rest in peace. That is extremely hard to have to read. Now, I need to, first of all, address this by saying, if you are somebody who is going through that, please, 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 for the love of God, please don't hesitate to go for help. I know it is extremely daunting. I know it's extremely stressful to have to, first of all, say, hey, there's something wrong. There's definitely something wrong. I need to do something about it. And unfortunately, that's the hardest part of it, to admit that there's something wrong and to make that phone call. And yes, there are hotlines out there in order to deal with this sort of thing. If somebody really does need it, I will post them down below. Unfortunately, that's the best that anybody can do when stuff like this happens. They do need to make sure that at the very least they get the help they do need by somebody who can supply that help. But she is absolutely correct that sometimes these places are not actual places that you should be going for help, because they don't really provide the help that they're supposed to be providing. And unfortunately, the idea of mental health is so lost in this country right now, at least in the United States. It is so lost in the US right now. Why do you think that the problem with the police are going on right now? It has everything to do, well, mostly to do with psychological issues that cops go through. They have to see everything all sorts of ways every single day. But this is not going to become a political post or anything like that. I want to keep focused on the person who took his own life. And unfortunately, he is not the first person to have ever done that. He is not the first person by far to have ever thought about going that route. He is not the first person ever to have been reported to, at the very least, felt like that they had no escape from the problems that they had. And unfortunately, that's a situation that a lot of people, especially in the streaming world, go through, because you're out there every single day. You're out there nearly every single day, not knowing what you're going to receive. Now, let me be quite frank. The majority of people who are watching these streams, the majority of people are not bad people. Again, let me say that right up front. These people, for the majority, are not bad people. There are some really big creeps out there, though. There are some really big dicks out there who are deciding that it is their right in order to make people feel like absolute trash. And unfortunately, we think that we are able to handle it. We think that we have the capacity to handle it, but unfortunately we do not. And unfortunately, that is something that we have to face the reality of. And unfortunately, these people are either too incapable to understand that what they say can and sometimes does hurt another human being, because remember, that's a human being on the other end of that. That's not just some avatar or something like that. That's not just an NPC. That's a human being on the other side of it. And I understand that some people do go into professional victimhood, and we can talk about that all over the place, but the majority of people who are not in the public spotlight, like Reckful was, he was not playing the victim here. He was not just playing the victim. He really did feel as though he had nowhere to go. And we have to really be careful of what we say. That's why we call out people for what they say. We want to make sure they are done in such a way that we are criticizing the things that they say, not them on a personal level. And that's why we say don't harass them. Don't fling vitriol at them, because you never know their real situation. We're trying to have a civil discourse debate about what is being said, not about their character, not about who they are as people. And that's the best way I can put it, because I'm kind of struggling in order to find the words here, because this is a tough story to have to cover. But if you're a streamer, you think that you have it all under control, and then you turn on the camera and you sometimes want to go cry into a corner because either they leveled all sorts of nastiness at you, and remember, the majority of people are good, but it's these idiots who make the waters toxic for everybody else to go through and kind of spoil the entire bunch, apparently. Or they have the very few people and they're just trolls or just in there to laugh at people or whatever. That's why when stuff like this happens, we keep saying, when is this going to change? When is this toxicity going to change? And unfortunately, what ends up happening is when you have stories like this, when you have problems like this come up, people will say, okay, that means the majority of the people who are gamers partake in this kind of behavior that makes somebody like Reckful do this. And that puts everybody into a box. It puts everybody into this whole crazy thing in which they say, wait a minute, I wasn't in that. Why are you including me in that? And it just solves nothing. That's why I'm trying to say the majority of people are good, but you also have to call out that behavior when you see it. Now, we're never perfect. Sometimes we don't see it. Sometimes we don't recognize it right away, and that's why you have to excuse maybe a few people if they don't necessarily see it right away or they didn't catch it. In a bigger channel, you can probably excuse it because the chat log goes by so fast, maybe you don't catch it right away. It just goes by so fast that by the time you're looking there, it's already scrolled past the screen. There was no way you could have seen it. That's why you have several moderators and administrators on your channel most of the time, so if one set of eyes doesn't see it, another might. Remember, you can only see so much and you can't catch what you don't see. But unfortunately, the bigger the channel, the more chances that something can fall through the crack. Nothing is ever perfect or foolproof. And what you see on a camera, what you see maybe from Reckful or maybe from another streamer like maybe Dr. Disrespect or maybe from me personally, or maybe some of the people that are on the Nocturnal Network, you see maybe 20 or maybe 30 minutes, you hear maybe 20 or 30 minutes of maybe someone on the camera reacting to a video or an episode of a show or something like that, or talking about whatever it feels though they have a thought about. Whether or not you want to listen to it, maybe it's good that you just listen to it just to give someone some support, because you never know who's on the other end. Because when they get off of the camera, when they get off the microphone, the stuff that you don't see is probably the stuff you might want to be concerned about, because who knows what they're going through. Not saying that they're not living life of the fullest day to day. I know there are some people who are depressed and are feeling distress. However, they're still trying to live life to the fullest. I know people who are able to do that. And we can only be so lucky to be having that sort of mentality, because sometimes it is so tough to do that. And this whole thing that's going down right now is affecting me on a more personal level, not because I know the person, because I'm not familiar with his content. And now that I'm talking about it, I wish I was, although that game that he was developing looks to be quite promising. Maybe it's something that is worth checking out. However, I have talked about on a more personal level my battles in the past with anxiety and depression, and unfortunately it is something in which a lot of people have said to me on a more personal level that I might need to seek some professional help at. And the problem with what I have been going through lately, and this is something that I've never really went into on a more public forum, maybe on Twitter, where I sometimes have went into a bout of depression. I've tweeted some things that maybe I should have never tweeted out, or said some things I never should have said. And maybe this is something I should not say. But I've had and made some amazing friends doing all this. And I've made some amazing friends playing games and making content. And I made some really, really good acquaintances doing my time doing this. Unfortunately, there's also my stroke of jealousy. I want my channel to do well. I want my channel to thrive. And I want my channel to be able to grow and to flourish. And there's two things that stop that, I do believe, and one is the mixture of things I have on my channel. Sometimes I go into major drama stuff like this one, and unfortunately this is something that I really didn't feel like I should have to cover, because he should still be alive right now. It's not that, well, I'm being forced to cover it because it's something that ended up happening. When people see that drama, when they see me cover that and they hear what I have to say about it, and sometimes it's stuff that people will disagree with, and I always say that's alright, you're free to disagree with it. Then they see some of the more positive stuff, and sometimes that can get lost in all the drama stuff I post. And I've been talking about that, and I've been brainstorming about how to address that for some time, and maybe separate channels for the drama, and then some of the more positive stuff like the reactions and stuff like that is better off. And I'm still processing and trying to figure out what to do with that. But it's because of that the other part of this is that I've always felt as though when somebody else does well, when some of my friends do well, and I'm sitting there wondering why nothing's growing and why is my sub count not going up, and I start getting anxiety and I'm saying, why is it not happening? And I feel like it's because of the drama stuff that I'm saying, and we're living in a time of cancel culture, and we're dealing with this whole idea that you can be raked through the coals about just about anything anymore. The littlest thing can make someone never want to talk to you again, and it's always made me nervous. Is it because of what I'm saying on these drama videos that are making people not want to watch the reactions, or are they going to another channel because they have more positive feedback or a more positive outlook than maybe I might about certain things? Maybe I'm too critical about certain things. What am I doing wrong? And it makes me also jealous of my friends, and I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to be jealous, because I am proud of what they do. I'm proud of the success that they have, but at the same time, and I think I've said this before, it is something that worries me, not because I don't want them to do well, because I do, but because I want to make sure I know what I'm doing wrong. And I always worry that maybe the littlest thing I say is going to make someone block me on Twitter or unfollow me on Twitter. And it came to a head a few times in which I've said something to the effect of, why did you unfollow me? Why did you say this? Why did you think this of me? And the answer is me losing a friend. And I did lose a friend earlier this year to something like this, and I feel horrible for it. I feel absolutely awful about that. And I'm not going to say the name of it right here, right now, because I would love to do that more directly. But it is one of the things that depressed me in all sorts of ways, and I did something incredibly stupid, and I had tried to run away from the places in which would completely remind me of that point in which that happened. And that was back in January and February, and it's affected me for a full half year now. And that's not the first one by any stretch of imagination. There's been several others that I did not mean to burn the bridge of, and I really would love to try to mend that bridge, and unfortunately that's easier said than done. Now you may be wondering why I'm bringing this up now. It's because when you think of something like this, in which life just ends like that, and you have a time to reflect, sometimes you reflect on yourself, and I get accused a lot about making things about me a lot, but that's the only experience that I can share, is my own. And if I can share my own stories, if I can share my own takes, and if that can help somebody else to say, hey, if this person is able to get through it, if this person is able to continue to go through it, then maybe I might have a chance. That's why I talk about my own experiences. That's why I talk about something that affected me personally. Maybe that will help them get through their situation, whatever that might be. And I hope that by sharing my stories, by sharing my thoughts, by sharing what I am able to share, that I help somebody out in that sort of way. No matter what, though, no matter what, please be advised that you do matter in this world. Please don't let anybody tell you that you don't, because you do. Because you never know who you are affecting. You never know who is depending on you or who needs you there. And this left a huge void in this Becca person. And I don't know her on a personal level. I don't know anything about her besides her being the recipient of the proposal. But he never knew that perhaps she might have said yes. She might have said, you know what? Yes, I will marry you. Who would have known what could have taken place at that point had he still been alive right now? And if you don't think you matter to anybody, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. And excuse me for saying the phrase like that, but you are horribly wrong. You do matter in this world, and there's somebody out there who will miss you deeply and who will never be able to live through a day without thinking of you and wishing you were there to see that, to be there, to play a game with them, or to talk with them, or to give them advice, or just brighten their day a little bit. To his many fans, he was it. He was that guy, and he was suffering through a hell of a lot. And to some people, and don't underestimate this, he was the person they went to feel like that, to feel safe, to feel like they mattered. And as a streamer, or a person who is on YouTube or making these videos, or who is sitting there thinking, oh, I'm not having an impact, you do have an impact. Don't think for a second you don't, because look how much it's impacted the streaming world. There's a trending Twitter hashtag right now in memorandum of his life. Do you think for a second he knew that? Do you think for a second he knew anything was going to happen like that if he wasn't around? That's why people are wondering about this Stop the Disrespect person. Why is he being banned? Because to some people, he's the person that they go to daily in order to be reminded that some parts of this world is still good. That there are some places you can go in order to be reminded that you matter. That's why they go to these places. That's why they go to these YouTube channels. That's why they go to these Twitch streams, because they feel like they matter. Regardless if you think that they make good content or not, somebody out there likes it. They must be doing something right because they got a lot of viewers. They must be doing something right. You must be doing something right because you're still here. You must be doing something right because every day when you get home from work or school or something like that, you're going to these streams, and if it's a tightly knit community, and even if it's not, this happens, you'll saying hi and other people will say hello, how are you, and they know you by name, and the streamer will call you out and they'll always say, hi, how you doing? Like they know you, like you're a part of their family. And when something goes wrong, they want to make sure you're okay. When that person who I sadly said something stupid to, they still, when I was saying that I was battling through all of this, they were still saying that I still matter. They were still trying to talk me out of some things that I might have regretted. And I would commend them for it, that even when they felt like the bridge was being burned, they still had it in their heart to say, hey, you mattered, hey, you're still worth it. And that is taking a hell of a lot of class to do. So don't sell any of these people short. And that is a reminder that you matter. They wouldn't put that much effort if they didn't think you matter. I wouldn't be putting that much effort. I wouldn't be putting that much effort into my videos and into my content, even though I don't think it is that great. I always think there's room for improvement. I wouldn't be putting my stuff out there for you guys to see if I didn't think that you guys matter to me. And you guys do. So please keep this as a lesson that if you have any problems at all, don't hesitate to say something. Don't hesitate to speak out. Don't hesitate to give someone a phone call. Even if it's your best friend, even if you're the person that they call because they couldn't find anybody else, even if you don't have the professional skill that maybe a psychiatrist might, still be able to talk to them, because maybe all they need is for someone to be reminded that they matter, somebody to listen to them. That's what all they want. Maybe it's not for them to give advice, but to hear them out. And for God's sakes, don't shut the door on them, because maybe you're the person that they need to go to. Maybe you're the only person they were able to find. And no, I'm not perfect either. There are times when I said something that I might have regretted or have regretted, and I had to take it back. We're never perfect. Don't think that you are. But please be people who listen and be people who will go and seek help, because we need you around. We need people who are able to be positive and outspoken and outgoing to be around, because stuff like what's happening in 2020, this is why we need you guys here. Stuff like what's going on with the protests and this damn virus, that's why we need you guys here, to know that there's something good in this world right now. And I know I'm rambling on at this point, and I do apologize for that. Hopefully I'm not boring you with me rambling about things. It's just that this person who took his own life had affected me in a way that wanted me to talk about it, because seeing what he went through and seeing what he had to go through is sort of similar to some of the things that I felt like I was going through. That no matter what, there was no escape, that there was no out. And I want people to know that there is a way out that doesn't include taking your own life force from this world, because somewhere somebody does need you. I know I'm just a content creator on YouTube. I know I'm just a person who makes funny videos or dumb videos, but no matter if it was me or somebody else, please don't dismiss it as just some odd, weird person saying it, because we all need you guys. Please do what you need to do. I know about the hotlines. I know about us overdoing it all the time, but it bears repeating. Sometimes just listening is enough. Sometimes reaching out is enough. Sometimes telling people, hey, I have this problem, is the bravery that starts it. As the main character from the newsroom, Will McAvoy, said, the first step in solving a problem is by recognizing that one exists. Please remember that there's a human being on the other end of that computer monitor that might be directly affected by what you say. Please watch what you say. Please be careful about what you say. And please, if there is a problem, if you are facing these kinds of mental health issues, don't hesitate to seek guidance. Don't hesitate to reach out, because that's sometimes the hardest part. And if you're a person who sees a problem, please don't hesitate to lend that ear, to be that shoulder, because sometimes that's all they need. That's all they're actually asking for. That's gonna do it for this edition of the special report. That was very hard to get through. Thanks as always for watching. If you liked what you see, please go hit that thumbs up, and please go subscribe. I know I said that before earlier in the channel, earlier in this particular video, but please go and subscribe, because we've been hearing that a lot of people don't subscribe to the channels that they usually watch, because apparently YouTube wants to do that whole thing where they show you our videos anyway, even though you're never subscribed. So sometimes they don't feel the need to subscribe for some reason. And also ring the bell, because even though they show you the rabbit hole, sometimes they don't tell you that we make new videos whenever you decide to click that subscribe button. That's that big red thing you probably see down below there, and that bell that's right beside it, ring that too. Let's do the OC remix track of the day, because we need something to pull ourselves out of this depressing hole, and because Reckful was a World of Warcraft, or I believe it's World of Warcraft streamer, maybe just a Warcraft period streamer, before he went to make this Everland thing, I'm going to pick something out from World of Warcraft. And I know I was saying I was going to play some of the newer stuff they posted recently. However, we're going to take a little bit of a detour from that because of the subject matter that happened today. We're going to try to do this in the memory of somebody who, like I said, should still be here today. This is a mixture of the Guild Wars theme and the Stormwind theme called All Nations Rise by the Wingless. I hope you enjoy it. I hope I didn't ramble on for way too long of this. Please do what I say that I said in the video, because my god, can we please just have one day in 2020 that something positive happens this year? My name is JD Shadow, and that just happened.